What's up, everybody? This is JWong. We're back with another. No, it's fighting game related, but obviously there has been lots of just talk of the town because of the Fatal Fury and Street Fighter collabs from Fatal Fury Seed Wolves and Street Fighter 6. Obviously, Street Fighter 6 they have SNK characters, and vice versa. From Fatal Fury they have Street Fighter characters. So I want to kind of theory talk if there was a CVS 3 Capcom versus SNK 3 or a SNK versus Capcom 2, what would it be like? What kind of style, characters, mechanics. So if you guys want to join in the conversation, and I would love to know some of your comments below, hit the like, share, subscribe, turn the bell notification, and yeah, let's just talk about it, right? So we got Capcom versus SNK 3 right here. This is just my kind of just take on it, and let me just run through some of the stuff that I think could be in CVS 3. Obviously, if you guys know, Fatal Fury released a trailer where they had Fatal Fury. Let's put it up. It's a collab trailer. Obviously, they had Street Fighter characters like Ken and Chun-Li in the game, and Street Fighter 6 had Mai and Terry. But now they actually added more stuff that kind of relates to CVS 3 style, right? And obviously, this is a homage stage to Sean in Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. And I went through EOST, and they have like JP in there as part of the lore and everything. So this is a Fatal Fury X Street Fighter. So it just feels like CVS 3 is going to happen, or SVC 2. Look at this. This is Rock Howard with the Luke outfit, Preacher with Jury, which I think is kind of bad actually. It doesn't look that good personally, right? They have collab costumes, but it's cool that they have costumes for Fatal Fury, right? It's like fan service at this point, right? We're getting kind of like, ooh, is CVS 3 coming? Are they going to announce SVC 2? Who's going to be the one making it? Are they going to have like a joint collaboration where they develop, one side develops Capcom, the other side develops SNK? They got Drive Rush, they got Drive Impact in here, but they call it Rev Rush, Rev Impact. They got the World Tour like enemies as well too. It got a lot of people speculating about CVS 3, and look, Kage Wolf. Look at that. Pretty much Kage takes over Terry and everything, and that's because of JP. So I kind of want to just talk about it. I know I'm like mashing the whole entire time right here. So pretty much CVS 3 or SNK versus Capcom 2. The way how modern fighting games are, there's no way they're going to release all these characters. Like CVS 2 had over like 50 characters, and SVC 2 had SVC 1 had a huge roster as well too. I don't think we're going to get that, like especially with like when you look at like games like 2XKO, Marvel Chokon, Invincible Versus, there's not many characters like that they're releasing. Obviously they're saving all these characters building up to DLC. So that's why I'm gonna think we're gonna go with a 2v2 fighting game format, no ratio system. And I think it's gonna be like a Capcom fighting jam style, meaning after you win the first round, you have the choice to choose between playing as the same characters before or switching to your second character. Obviously I talked about how I don't think there'll be that many characters, but I still put up to 40 characters total. 20 characters from Capcom side and 20 characters from SNK side. This is obviously not insider information. This is what I think CVS 3 or SVC 2 could possibly be. This is me guessing. Just having fun with it. 4 different type of bosses, 2 from Capcom, 2 from SNK. kind of like how CVS 2 had the bosses like God Rugal, Shinakuma. Same thing with SVC Chaos, where they had like all this like Goddess Athena and Gonitz and Shinakuma as well. All these characters, right? But let's talk about the concept. The concept, it's a 2v2 fighting game where the fights are 1v1. No tags, no active tag bullshit. I'm tired of that. And after a round is over, you have the option to choose a second character or keep the same character. So I wanted to make sure that, okay, people have to learn 2 characters in this game, because obviously when you play games like Capcom Fighting Jam or Rival Schools or anything where it's like it's 1v1 but you could just keep the same characters, you can actually just main that one character and call it a day and don't need to learn the second character. And that's what I did for I would say Capcom Fighting Jam, and even like Marvel Tokon right now. Like it's hard to find the tag element, the 44 aspect, but I added benefits, right? I added benefits like if you switch, let's say if you switch to your second character or whatever, or you decide to switch to the second character, then your second character gains a bar of meter, gains a super bar, right? Kind of like how King of Fighters 15, where when you die, you get an extra bar for when your second character comes in and third character comes in. While if you stick with the first character, you will lose a bar of meter, and meters carry over in general. If you have 2 bars and you decide to switch after after the round's over to your second character, right, or vice versa, then you will gain a bar meter starting with 3 bars instead of 2 bars. Kind of forces you, especially when like games where Fatal Fury Sequel is like meter so important, right? Every combo leads into a super or hitting gear. Same thing with Street Fighter 6. Everything just cashes out into like double drive rush into level 3, right? That's what I want to do to kind of like encourage switching. Mechanics will be groove system like CVS2. I think that's the perfect mechanics in fighting game history because it's so creative and everyone could just play what they like. So it's going to be like CAP, SNK, right? 3 grooves from Capcom side, 3 grooves from SNK side. Obviously, we're not going to use kind of like the same grooves that we had. Like C was like kind of like the Street Fighter Alpha, A groove was kind of like Vism, P groove was Third Strike. So I wanted to kind of like do from the more recent fighting game. So C groove would be Street Fighter 4 mechanics where you have focus attack and FADC. And let's say A groove where you have Street Fighter 5 mechanics where you have V skill plus V trigger. And P groove will be Street Fighter 6 mechanics where you have drive rush and drive impact. And then going to S groove would be Samurai Showdown 2019 mechanics, where it just gives you kind of like a rage power up, where you're just able to do more damage. Like when you get hit, you could rage. Obviously, you could add the kind of like just defend mechanic that they have in Samurai Showdown. I think that would be pretty cool. I don't want to give a pop Isen just because I feel like that would be too overpowered in terms of that mechanic, right? N groove will have King of Fighters 15 mechanics, where you just have ability to max mode and just do cancel, right, into level 1 and everything like that. I think that'd be pretty cool. K groove will be Fatal Fury Seed Wolves mechanics, where you have access to Rev Blow, which is pretty much a superior version of Drive Impact, and you have Hyper Defense Guard Cancel. I don't want to give it just defense, so I feel like Hyper Defense Guard Cancel was a better option. Let me add SPG bar for Rev Blow, so you can't just have Rev Blow every single time. While I would say Street Fighter 6, they have Drive Impact. Obviously, things could be a little bit nerfed and everything. Drive Impact is like, oh, that's 3. Like, how do you stop Drive Impact from somebody Drive Impacting you in the corner or something like that? So I would say, okay, it doesn't wall splat. It's more of just kind of like an armored thing like Focus Attack or something like that, right? I think that would be kind of like my groove system. Obviously, there could be better ideas. You guys can tell me in the comments below. Universal mechanics. Every groove has an alpha counter. Every super bar goes from 1 to 3. Every meter has EX moves as well, and quick rise and back rise, high dodge and low dodge attack. So that was kind of like what I think, okay, universal mechanics should be. But obviously, I do want to focus more on some like, okay, this Street Fighter 4 has like delay get up, right? Or Street Fighter 5 has like a V shift, right? I think having V shift would be pretty cool for Street Fighter 5. And Street Fighter 6, there's no defensive mechanics in Street Fighter 6 anyway, right? Samurai Showdown, obviously you have Just Defend into blowback, but Just Defend won't give you life. King of Fire 15 mechanics have max mode. I like max mode a lot. I think max mode is pretty cool, right? And Fatal Fury, like I said, I don't want to give him Just Defend just because getting life back seems pretty cheap in modern fighting games, but having a Rev Blow and Hyper Defense into guard cancel would be pretty cool, and you kind of have to like skillfully do Hyper Defense guard cancel. So that's my idea. Now let's talk about characters. Obviously Ryu, Ken, of course, like they're always in every game, and I think pretty fun to use, especially with the different grooves. Obviously you have to have Chun-Li just because you do. You kind of have to add Luke and Jury now. I feel like they're like kind of like the future of Street Fighter characters that are in collab. I think they'll add a good flair of gameplay. Akuma is obviously has to be in the game just because he's always in every Street Fighter game no matter what, and he always has a really cool dynamic, right? Obviously CVS2 he wasn't like the best, but who knows? I feel like Akuma is always guaranteed people to buy the game. I don't know. Obviously the king, Sagat. I think Sagat was super famous in CVS2, so why not add Sagat? And I am so sorry for adding JP. I know JP is a bit toxic. You guys probably hate JP so much, but I think it would be pretty fun to add JP, especially because like I said, we got to add some newer Street Fighter 6 characters as well too, right? Hugo's another character I feel like hasn't gotten a lot of love for a while, so I kind of want to give Hugo another chance. I feel like a lot of Street Fighter 3 characters are getting more popular, so got to add Hugo. Morgan, classic Morgan. You just kind of have to. Obviously, she will be redesigned in modern fighting game drawing DLC costume. Give her classic retro outfit. That would be pretty sick. Sean, just because I think all of you guys are like, yo, where's Sean, man? Where's Sean? So I think Sean, and especially with like a glow up where like he's actually a lot better compared to his Third Strike form, I think that would be pretty cool. Karen, yes, I'm biased. I love my white girl rich sweep. Karen definitely needs to be in there as well too, just because we got to add some more female characters in there. Blanca's also another popular character in the CVS2 world franchise, so I feel like he has to be in there, and especially with like how popular he was in Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 6, why not? Rashid, another character that's kind of like a modern Street Fighter character that you just feel like he just belongs in every game possibly now. I feel like he's always in every game. If they really did make a CVS3 or SVC2, I guarantee Rashid's going to be in there. Remy, just because I'm tired of Guile. Nash supposedly died or whatever, but let's give Remy a shot. Remy, I feel like, needs redemption to actually being good. Third Strike, he was his first time and that was his last time, and he's just been ass the whole entire time. Yin and Yang, just because like the twins, man, dive kicks, why not just have some aggression, and I think that them playing in specific grooves and everything would be pretty fun, and seeing people just like going for like hyper defense against kind of like the twin strings would be really fun, especially with guard cancel, just because it just adds a flair of just really sweaty play. Batsu from Rival Schools, just because why not? Rival School characters, be like Akira was such a great character in Street Fighter 5, so Batsu would be pretty cool. I love my Manat. That's the character I played in Street Fighter 5 towards like the end of the game, so I think she would be also really fun, just because she could be like the zoner. We don't really have that many zoners if you think about it. Like we have JP, degenerate zoning. Remy would be pretty good in zoning in this game, just because there's no like the parry is not an option in this game, right? So kind of have to just really work against the projectiles. Sagat, he hasn't been a zoner in such a long time. And then Manat, obviously have Manat as a zoner, and then you have Manon. I think Manon in general is just kind of I would say not as popular character, but I think she's a fun grappler. So obviously I think Capcom side is a pretty tame usually, but SNK I think has a lot more of the cooler characters, right? Obviously the classic characters of Kyo and Iori, pretty much the faces of King of Fighters. If you have Ryu and Ken, you have to have Kyo and Iori. Blue Mary, obviously one of my favorites. I think she would be pretty cool, just because like Blue Mary could have a thing against a rivalry against Manon, as in terms of like grappler versus grappler. Mai, yes Bai, and of course the out classic Mai versus Chun-Li. K-Dash and Shunei are like kind of like the modern King of Fighter characters. Even though K-Dash comes from King of Fighters 99, to me he still feels very new. Shunei as well too, also kind of like a newer school King of Fighters character, right? Since King of Fighters 14, classic Terry Bogard. He literally is like the poster boy, right? Fatal Fury. Clark, I think Clark doesn't get much love, so we definitely need to add Clark in there as like the resident grappler, so he can fight against Hugo. And I think it would be pretty fun if he does Huria against big ass Hugo, and that would just look sick as shit. Gotta add some Samurai Shodown characters, right? You got Harumaru out here, CVS2. One of the more interesting picks that they added in CVS2, the way they designed him in King of Fighters 15, he felt like amazing as well too. Genjiro, just because if we're gonna add Harumaru, might as well add some more Samurai Shodown characters into the mix. Genjiro would be kind of like that cross up tricky character, really like short jab into Rekkas, cross up Rekkas and everything, very tricky, kind of like not similar to Yun and Yang, but just kind of like you have to be on your toes type of thing. Charlotte, why not? Any character that has blonde hair, blue eyes, top tier, right? Hibiki, one of my favorite characters in CVS2 history. She just has to just be in the game. I think she's just super awesome, super cool, and she just fits. Hey, gotta give some love to Last Blade, man. SNK, if you're gonna watch this, make a Last Blade 3, please. Obviously, you got to add Rock Howard, just because, Rock Howard, he's been tearing it up, man. I feel like he's one of those other popular staple characters. He's kind of like the cool guy, the cool SNK character. Majority of SNK characters are cool, but like he's like for the young people, right? The young people. Kim Cap-1. I think Kim Cap-1 and Rashid could be something. Just kind of like parkour versus Kim Cap-1 Taekwondo, and they're just flying everywhere, very air-based maneuvering. Athena, tell me you guys didn't see that. Athena and Manat feel like Psycho Ball. They're both very spiritual. I think that would be really cool. Marco, aka Kushino Butt, would be pretty cool to have as well too. You can even put him as Mr. Karate if you wanted to, just to kind of like him and Akuma could be possibly a thing. And also you gotta add, like I said, newer characters such as like Preacher, right? Preacher from Fatal Fury Seed of Wolves. I think she would be pretty cool, especially against Muay Thai, and she could kind of like fight Sagat. If anything, obviously I think Sagat would still wash her, but it's just cool to add both of them, right? Gato is a very strong pick as well in general, very popular character. Gato versus Yun and Yang. I feel like they're very similar in that regard. And Ash Crimson, obviously the resident Guile of SNK, the Sonic Boom Flash Kick character. Him and Remy could possibly do something, could be a zoning war as well too, right? And Kula, just because you could actually replace Kulo with anyone else, but I think Kulo would just be pretty cool to have, kind of like in a SVC style would be pretty awesome. And then bosses, obviously we have the bosses from CVS2 and SVC, so I just kept it simple, very CVS3 like. So we have like Nightmare Geese. Obviously Nightmare Geese is really a problem, especially when you know Nightmare Geese from King of Fighters 2002 UM. And then you have God Rugao. Out of all the bosses that they had in CVS2, he was the coolest boss. So definitely cooler than Shin Akuma. So I kind of like God Rugao. Reminds me of Shredder, you know, like Mutant Shredder from TNMT. And then JP, but I want him to be Shin JP. You know, because we don't know what JP's story is, or maybe I don't know, but I don't follow the lore. But I just feel like Capcom is setting up JP to be that villain, that dude, like that new boss. So I think Shin JP would be pretty crazy. Kind of give him like that, some of those King of Fighters like 2001 bosses, or no, what was it, 2003 Mukai, where you could just summon a bunch of stuff everywhere. So I think Shin JP could just summon crazier stuff. And Gil, obviously God Gil himself, Resurrection, and just having that would be pretty interesting. But yeah, this is just my take on a possible if CVS3 happened or SBC2 happened. You know, it's just one of those theory craft stuff. I don't really make these type of videos too often, but I just thought it'll be fun to talk about just because it's a conversation and it's probably in a lot of people's mind, especially with like Street Fighter doing so much Fatal Fury stuff, right? Street Fighter 6, like Terry and Mai are like top tier. They're literally top tier in Street Fighter 6 in the meta, right? And obviously in City of the Wolves, you have Ken and Chun-Li, two of the most popular characters in the franchise, and they're super cool. They're super sick. And then you have the EOST mode that they added, where they just added a Street Fighter town, where they're adding kind of like the lore. There's so much artwork that's in the game in Fatal Fury right now that has like these kind of like one SNK character, one Capcom character doing like a pose or a chibi version. It just feels like CVS3 SVC2 has to happen, or something with more collabs or maybe more characters, but it's just bound to happen. But we haven't had a versus series game in a while, and I feel like that would just the next thing to really look into, right? Leave some comments below. What do you guys think? Do you guys think my picks are ass, my mechanics are ass, me making my own game theoretically is bad, is flawed? Let me know what in your comments below. What would you add? Which characters would you add? Which mechanics would you add? Which stuff would you want to take out from my list or whatever? Other than that, hit the like, share, subscribe, turn the bell notification, and yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the video. And let me know if you like this stuff. Maybe we can do kind of more of this stuff where I'm just like talking and we're just geeking out about fighting games, because I love fighting games, man, and I know you guys too. All right, have a good one. Peace. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's YouTube video, and if you guys did enjoy it, make sure you guys hit the like, share, subscribe, and also big shout outs to everyone that has joined the Patreons. Obviously your names are coming up right now, and I appreciate the love. If you guys are interested in the Patreon, make sure you guys check it out, and also check out the travel channel for Let's Go Justin. And yeah, make sure you guys keep watching the games, love fighting games, and we'll see you in the next one, man. Have a great one. Peace.